Thank you guys for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where and when you are joining us. I'm your host, Katie Milton Jordan, and we have a brand new AI action class today based on Donna's recommendation for Subtract. So Donna has been an incredible rock star in recommending books that have been following our arc of learning. So she is a trusted partner that's giving us really good content to go through. And I also really liked Larry's recommendation that he was talking about with Brandon before class started. So we may have to add that book to our internal book list. So today we are doing Subtract. This is based on the book Subtract, The Untapped Science of Less by Lady Klotz. Our AI action class teaches primarily AI fluency, not the book. We use the book's frameworks to practice building and using AI workflows. And if you find these ideas valuable, please read the original work. You can go to the author's page right here. There is a URL for you to dig in a little bit deeper. As always, our AI action class follows the same agenda. We spend some time at the beginning of the class going through the introduction, understanding the context, the format. We spend a few minutes learning AI concepts and the foundational concepts in the book, and then we spend the majority of our time applying the relevant AI workflows so that we can bring these concepts immediately to work in our life and business. And then always we like to come back together in community at the end to share insights, Q&A, and other recommendations. So the untapped science of less. To attain knowledge, add things every day. To attain wisdom, subtract things every day. Very good quote. So the untapped science of less follows a natural arc with 4 areas, which is perfect for us because our AI action classes have been following a 4-workshop series cadence. So in the first principle, Invert, suggests that we try less before more. Start every improvement by asking what you could remove. In concept number 2, expand, it invites us to see adding and subtracting simultaneously. Zoom out to see the full field of options. In the distill concept, it encourages us to focus on people, not things. Embrace complexity to find what to subtract from it. And concept 4, persist, suggests that we keep subtracting when biology, culture, and economics push you to add, which can be a struggle in the human condition that we're living in because we all exist in environments and ecosystems that push us to add. So let's take a look at what we're going to be covering in our workshop series. So in today's workshop, the Subtraction Audit, our goal is to identify where we default to adding and practice trying less before more. So the key topics are additive bias, biological and cultural drivers of more. I'm not even sure if I know how to say this name correctly. Lao Tzu, subtraction wisdom, commander's intent for less, and the Embarcadero freeway case. So the deliverable that we're going to work towards today is a subtraction audit, a structured inventory of one project or process, identifying 3 to 5 elements to remove with impact assessment for each. In our next workshop, we're going to do the full field view, which is going to allow us to create a full field operations map, a visual decision framework showing add, subtract, leave options for a current challenge with a trade-off analysis. Workshop 3 is going to be our people filter. This is where we're going to create a people-first simplification plan. This is a complexity reduction blueprint that starts with human impact, identifies structural removals, and preserves what matters. And workshop 4, the persistence protocol, we will create the subtraction sustainability plan, a 30-day protocol with triggers, accountability checkpoints, and system level changes that make less the default. Love it. I want more less. It's It's probably a contradiction to say that. And here is our AI workflow slide. This is where I get to remind you of the similarities and differences between a long prompt and an AI workflow. So on the screen, you can see an example of the AI workflow that we're going to be using today. Long prompts are, AI workflows are long prompts, but long prompts aren't always AI workflows because our AI workflows bake in some guardrails and some other items that allow us to work with the AI even more productively. So this is the example of the AI workflow that we are going to be working through today. And this font is a little bit small, so we are going to read the introductory paragraph and the steps in the workflow once we get into our public drive. So speaking of the public drive can be found at bit.ly/AI formula. So I encourage you that if you are going to be running the workflow with me today, go ahead and navigate to our public drive there and look for our Subtract AI action class folder. That's where we're going to get today's prompt to run workshop 1. During the next 25 minutes, we are going to run the AI workflow, and I'd like to remind you of a few best practices and recommendations as we run this workflow together. Remember to work on your own project, process, or initiative. Bring real work. We try to stay away from theoretical, hypotheticals, or synthetic data because we practice the idea of learn by doing with AI. This gives us 3 very important deliverables. When we work on real work and challenges, we not only gain AI fluency by working with the AI tools, but we also do real work in the time together. So you walk away with a real deliverable that can be immediately applied in your business or life. And it helps us to go a little bit deeper on the book's concepts. So this is also your time to learn and explore both the concepts inside the book as well as the AI. So if you want to go deeper into any one of those concepts, just instruct the AI using your plain language what you want more information on or what you want to explore deeper. Remember, if you can't think of answers, you can always ask the AI to make suggestions based on what it knows about you or based on best practices. If you get stuck, just speak to the AI as though you were giving instructions to an in-person assistant. And remember that I am here to help you if you do get stuck. So let's jump into our public folder. bit.ly/AI formula is where we're going to go. You're probably going to see this screen that's going to say, do you trust this drive? Do you want to continue to the destination? You're going to go ahead and hit yes. And now we want to go to our Subtract AI action class. Now, 2 things that I put into our public folder for you. I was able to find a Subtract reading and discussion guide from the author's website. So there is more information about the book. It tells you the ISBN number, about the author, how you can get in contact with the author, how you can purchase this book, as well as a discussion guide that may help you interact with the material in an even more meaningful way. So happy to put that in there for you guys. Now let's take a look at our AI workflow for today. So I always encourage folks to read the introductory paragraph so we have a sense of what we're going to be working towards today, and then we also want to brief ourselves on the steps. So this workflow is saying you are a strategic advisor and expert in the principles from Subtract, the untapped science of less. Your specialty is the first action framework, Invert, the discipline of trying less before more, starting every improvement by asking what you could remove. Your role is to guide me through a structured process to audit a project, process, or initiative and identify what to subtract for greater impact. So the goal is to have a finished subtraction audit by the time the last step is done. So step 1, we want to surface the target. Step 2, we want to map the components. Step 3, we want to apply the inversion test. Step 4, we want to assess the impact. Step 5, we want to build the audit, and step 6 is our final deliverable, the subtraction audit. So we're going to copy this entire prompt all the way through. And we are going to go into our preferred LLM. I encourage you to use whatever LLM you have been using on a regular basis. Our workflows are LLM agnostic, so you can use this with any major LLM. Now today I'm actually going to be working in Claude on my desktop. So I'm going to paste this in here and say run this workflow step by step. And that was already included at the beginning of the workflow, but I guess it's a habit that I put it in there now almost every time I run a AI workflow. So the AI is now guiding us through our introduction. I'm your subtraction strategist. We're going to walk through a structured audit based on Lady Klotz's Subtract, the Untapped Science of Less. The Invert Principle. Klotz's research revealed something unsettling. When humans try to improve anything, a design, a schedule, a business, a life, our brains systemically default to adding. Not because adding works better, but because our neural wiring literally fails to consider subtraction as an option. Interesting. We had features, meaning, tools, steps, offerings, and we call it progress. The invert framework is the antidote. Before you add anything to improve something, you ask the opposite question first. What could I remove? The Embarcadero Freeway is the canonical case after the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake damaged this elevated highway along San Francisco's waterfront. The city faced a choice, rebuild or tear down. They tore it down. What emerged was one of the most valuable, beloved public spaces in the city, a waterfront that had been hidden behind concrete for decades. The best improvement was removal. Lao Tzu said it 2,500 years earlier: to attain knowledge, add things every day; to attain wisdom, subtract things every day. The 6 steps we'll walk through that we already reviewed, and it's customizing some information to me. So this workshop is almost designed for you. You've spent a year building. Now the question is, what's quietly bloating the system? A quick question before we start. Do I want a short primer on additive bias before we begin, or jump straight into step 1? And I'm going to say yes, because I'm curious to learn a little bit more about additive bias. And I think that that's the part where they were talking about the neural frameworks. Our brains are literally not wired to subtract. And I'd like to learn a little bit more about this, but what this is also illustrating is how we can use AI to learn while we are actually doing something. So the core finding, Klotz and his colleagues published a study in Nature that quietly rearranged how we understand improvement. They gave people a series of problems, Lego structures to stabilize, travel itineraries to improve, essays to strengthen, recipes to refine. In every single task, participants overwhelmingly chose to add components, even when subtracting would have produced a better solution with less effort. The kicker: when researchers explicitly prompted people to consider removing as an option, subtraction rates jumped dramatically. The issue wasn't that subtraction was worse, it was that people literally didn't see it as an option. Their brain skipped over it. So they call this additive bias, and it shows up in 3 compounding ways. Subtraction is cognitively invisible. Our brains generate what could we add faster than what we could remove. Addition feels like problem solving, removal feels like giving up, or worse, like laziness. Fascinating. Addition is socially rewarded. You get credit for launching, building, hiring, expanding. Nobody hands out awards for the meeting you canceled, the feature you killed, the offering you sunset. As Klotz puts it, adding signals effort. Subtraction signals what exactly? We don't have good language for it. Systems actively push back. Once something exists, a process, a tool, a standing meaning, a product line, it generates its own gravity. People organize around it. It gets budget line items. It develops defenders. Subtracting requires overcoming all of that inertia, while adding just requires a decision. Also fascinating. So why this matters for me? And again, this is a paragraph that is also illustrating how we can work with AI for customized or personalized education at scale. So I will spare you guys this personalized paragraph that's meant for me, and move on to surfacing the target. This is our step 1. Before we can subtract anything, we need to pick the target. This can be one specific thing, a process, a product, a meeting cadence, a daily routine and offering, a workflow, or a broader system that's feeling bloated. So what is the project, process, or initiative you want to audit for subtraction? Why does it feel like it needs simplification? When was the last time something was intentionally removed from this? And who are these stakeholders? Take them in order or answer them in a stream. Either works. Okay. All right. So I'm going to use my Whisper Flow tool to give my response to my AI. What I am thinking that I would like to audit is my CEO operating system. And I'm not sure about this because it's still new in the experimental phase of the CEO operating system. And candidly, I'm afraid that if I delete something from that system, it's going to break something. So maybe we need to, instead of auditing the entire system, we pick just a section of that system to audit and see what could be simplified. And the last time that I intentionally removed something from this was the last time that I ran a CEO operating system audit and moved files into my archive folder. And the archive folder is where I delete items that are out of date or no longer relevant. The stakeholders are me. I touch this and I would be affected by the changes. Let me know your feedback and recommendations. Okay, so we're going to give that to our AI and see what kind of feedback we get. Okay, your hesitation is actually the right signal. When your system is still new and experimental, removing a load-bearing piece can cascade in ways you can't predict, but that fear cuts both ways. It's also the mechanism by which systems accumulate weight nobody questions. Your proposal, audit a section instead of the whole thing, is a smart move. Klotz actually has a name for this approach in the book. He calls it subtracting at the right angle. You don't demo the whole building to find the load-bearing wall. You walk through one room first. Let me offer a reframe and then a recommendation. You said, I'm afraid if I delete something, it's going to break something. Notice the binary, delete or keep. But subtraction isn't always deletion. Klotz distinguishes between hard subtraction, actually removing something, delete the file, kill the SOP, or soft subtraction, archiving, pausing, mothballing, or consolidating, where the thing still exists but stops taking up active space. Now, this is like a big moment for me as a leader because this reframe is really making an impression for me in my brain, because I am noticing that I was looking at this in the binary, delete or keep. So subtraction, my example of having an archive folder that still sits in the operating system and holds files in a pause state until they have sat there for a period of time, and now I know that they're really irrelevant. So your existing archive folder is already a soft subtraction mechanism. It means every candidate we surface has a safety net. If this turns out to be load-bearing, we pull it back. That lowers the fear. Yes, pick one section. Let's look at what you've built. Your operating system has roughly these sections. Daily rituals, content engine, client prospect pipeline, product delivery, venture ops, meta knowledge layer, email calendar, infrastructure. Any one of these could be a clean audit target, but here's the question that usually surfaces the right one. Which section of your CEO operating system feels heaviest right now? Where do you most often think, do I really need all of this? And I'm going with my email and calendar structure. Email and calendar structure. I want to run that through the audit. Okay, great choice. Email and calendar infrastructure is one of the best possible first targets for a subtraction audit, and here's why. It's high frequency, you touch it every day. It compounds fast. Every added rule, label, filter, calendar tier, or triage layer creates ongoing cognitive overhead. And it's genuinely load-bearing, which means any subtraction wins will have outsized impact on your daily cognitive load. It's also freshly built. You migrated from Superhuman to Gmail, Built a 3-tier calendar system, deployed the simple email ecosystem with Claudia as the front door, and wired up on Google Calendar. It's a lot of architecture added in a short window, which means it's exactly the kind of system most likely to have accumulated pieces that made sense to build but may not still earn their keep. So surface the target, revised scope. Let me re-anchor the 4 context questions that it asked us now. What are we auditing? The email and calendar. Why does it feel like it needs simplification? When did you last remove something from the system? And stakeholders. So why does it feel like this needs simplification? It feels like it needs simplification because I feel like I still haven't nailed this task, this responsibility, this daily thing that I need to do. And I'm still experiencing some confusion about how all of the parts are interconnected. And I'm noticing that emails are falling through the cracks, and I'm working a lot of hours during the day and still feeling tired. So what can we subtract? Okay. While Claude is thinking, I'll share with you guys that yesterday I had a handful of really interesting conversations with colleagues about the capacity gap. I work with a somatic healing coach. She's from Poland and she's in the Ukraine, and her and I had scheduled a LinkedIn Live yesterday that didn't go live because we had tech challenges, but we ended up having a fabulous conversation that we documented all around this capacity gap idea, because her question is, AI is now allowing us to compress our work time and improve our productivity, but are we just now on a faster hamster wheel? And what is this costing us? So I turned our conversation into basically a white paper with an AI workflow that allows you to build your own human operating system. So yesterday I built a human operating system layer inside my CEO operating system that holds me accountable to these healthy healing habits that I have been trying to deploy in my daily life. And we also created a 13th principle, which is a thinking lens, to help us understand how this AI compression and productivity of work interacts with our nervous systems. So if anybody is interested, I'd be happy to share that link with you if you'd like to read that conversation and stress test those tools. I can share those with you. But the 13th principle, we have 12 principles that we use inside our consortium of AI transformation experts that are like thinking lenses. They help us understand what is going on with AI and make meaning out of it. Because one of the things that I've noticed is that there are a lot of folks talking about AI and tools and everything else, but very few people that are making meaning out of it and helping us to actually navigate life and work. So let's see what is going on with AI here. Yeah, we're still connected to the internet, but it's saying it's taking longer than usual for some reason. So this may give us an opportunity to get the train back on the tracks in real time. I can see it's doing attempt 8. And this may be one of the situations where I just need to turn it off and turn it back on again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this last comment that I gave AI and see if it resolves itself in the next few seconds. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to restart it and give it this last comment again. Yep, see, it's not even allowing me to put this next response in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to quit my Claude and restart it to see if that can get the train back on the track. So continue working along with the prompt that you guys have, and I will rejoin you in a moment. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy everything that we've done in here today in this thread, and I'm going to bring this over to Claude in the Chrome browser. Attached is the beginning of a workflow that I started in Claude on my desktop, and it is taking longer than usual. So I'm going to give you my work, and hopefully we can transfer the workflow over here for better success.
Katie, while you're waiting on that, Cheryl and I were talking in the chat. Our when we put in the workflow, it came up with different prompts. You had those little clickable boxes that it gave you, like, do you want to read the primer? And mine just asked me like the just a text version of that, nothing clickable. Like, do you want a short primer? Do you want this? Do you want that? Or do you want to jump into step one? And hers gave her something else also that was different. Is there something that you did or a way thing that you have set up in your system that gave you those clickable options rather than typing in what you'd like?
Nope. No, and my best guess is that I frequently ask AI to present me with multiple choice questions. So my guess is that it has learned that from me and it has stored it in its memories, which is why it defaulted to that.
Okay.
So I think that that was probably more of a memory or a personalization thing than it was a tool or settings thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, is anybody else working in Claude this morning? Am I the only one working in Claude? Because now I'm starting to wonder if Claude is having an outage.
I was working in Claude and I didn't have any problems so far, but let me check it now.
I'm working in Claude and it's incredibly slow right now.
Okay. So I may bring this over to.
I have mine set in Sonnet though, instead of the Opus 4.7, and I'm not having any problems.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to bring this over to ChatGPT. Okay. So I started this in a different thread that is not responding. So I'm going to try to bring my work over here to you to see if we can continue the work here. Okay. Okay. Oh, look at ChatGPT trying to tell me it's the better LLM. All right. This is exactly the right place to pause and do this work. You didn't bring over a messy thread. You brought over a pressure point. I'm going to push back on you a little before we continue the workflow. This is not an email problem. This is a system load and decision architecture problem wearing an email costume. If we treat this like cleanup inbox, tweak calendar, you will rebuild the same complexity in 2 weeks. Valid. So we're going to stay disciplined to the invert framework and do this properly. Step 1, target summary locked. System being audited, the email calendar infrastructure inside your CEO operating system. What it includes, the actual symptoms, decoded, I haven't nailed this, confusion about how the parts connect, emails falling through the cracks, working a lot, still feeling tired. What this actually means, too many decision points per email, too many system layers, unclear default behavior, false sense of control. Cognitive tax is less than the system benefit. The system is costing more energy than it saves. The real problem, you don't have an email problem, you have an over-engineered routing system without a dominant rule set. Ooh, man, did that just read my mail? Map the components. We do this fast but brutally. We are not optimizing yet. We are exposing everything so we can start subtracting. I need you to answer these one at a time. After each answer, I'll say noted and move on to the next. Question 1, when an email comes in today, what are all the possible paths it could take? I'm not actually sure. You are reading my email, pun intended, because I do agree with you. I think that the system is over-engineered. Here's what I think happens to my email. If it comes into my email inbox, Katie at Katie Milton Jordan, there is a Google Apps script that helps put it into the right folders, but I'm still not sure I understand the Google Apps script, and I think that some things are going into the wrong folders. And then the important emails sit in my email inbox, and I don't have a system to properly respond to them. So yeah, wow. I'm feeling shame. Okay, stay right there for a second. Don't push past what you said, because this is the moment where most people bail out and go, I just need better folders. You don't. You just uncovered the real issue. You don't trust the system, so your brain is trying to become the system. That's why you're tired. And let me cut off the shame spiral early. This is not a discipline problem. This is a design failure. If a system requires you to remember how it works in order to trust it, it's already broken. Noted. That was your answer to question 1. Even if it felt incomplete, it was actually very revealing. So here's what I'm extracting. The current reality is not ideal. Let me name the structural problem: automation without visibility and sorting without action rules. The combination is lethal. Also, this matters. I'm not sure I understand the Google script. And the CEO system, anything you don't understand is either deleted or simplified until you do. I feel like that's wisdom right there. Hidden logic is hidden failure. Now we go deeper. I want you to ignore the current system for a second. When you open your email, what decisions are you actually making? Yes, when I open my email, the decisions I'm making are, is this important? Do I need to respond? Should this be a meeting? Can I ignore this? Can I think about this later? Yep, that's true. Okay. And I'm also wondering about email's role in an AI economy. Is email as important as it was in the pre-AI economy? Is it less important? Is it even more important now because we are using machines to automate things? I guess one of the things that I want to better understand is, what's my relationship to email now that I'm a CEO operating system, and how can I treat it as the tool that it is? What does it not replace, and what can be replaced? So we're adding a philosophical question in here about email, because I don't know about you guys, but I have certainly been the victim of too many emails and too many meetings and committee meetings about forming committee meetings. And so I'm really trying to drive a lean and efficient team, or lean and efficient machine. But what I'm also noticing is that using AI in this new economy also requires us not to just bolt on AI to what we have been doing, but to also reevaluate the environments and the ecosystems that these tools exist in. Because sometimes it means that we need to throw away or revamp an old way of doing things instead of trying to just bolt AI onto it. So let's answer your bigger question. What is email's role in an AI economy? Let's get this straight, or you'll rebuild the wrong system. Email is less important as a work tool, but more important as a liability surface. I'm not sure I understand what that means. In the pre-AI world, AI was communication, task management, a CRM, documentation, coordination. It was doing everything badly, but we tolerated it. In the AI economy, email is now an intake channel, not a workspace. It's where requests arrive, opportunities appear, noise enters. It's not where work should live. It's a trigger layer. Email should initiate actions, not contain them. Example, email becomes a task, it becomes a meeting, it gets ignored, but email itself is not the system of record anymore. A risk surface. This is the part most people miss. What falls through email are deals, relationships, reputation, and money. So paradoxically, email matters less for doing work, but more for not dropping the ball. Your new relationship to email, the CEO operating system version, you are not an email processor. You are an intake triage system with authority. Your job is not to respond to everything, organize everything, or maintain box perfection. Your job is to decide what enters your system, assign it a path, and get it out of email immediately. What email should not do anymore: your to-do list, your memory, your CRM, your project tracker, your thinking space. If it is, you will always feel behind. What can be replaced and should be: manual sorting, exchange that for simple rules. Figure it out decisions, predefined paths, inbox as a holding zone, immediate routing. What cannot be replaced? This is where you come in. Only you can decide, is this important? Is this relationship worth attention? Is this worth my time? AI can assist, but you are the filter. Let's connect this back to your system. Right now you have an automation, Google script, you have sorting, you have intake, but you're missing a dominant decision rule that collapses those 5 decisions into 2 to 3 paths. This is what we're about to build. Interesting that we're building something while we're subtracting, right? Question 3, which of those decisions feels the hardest or the most draining? Is this important? Do I need to respond? Should this be a meeting? Can I ignore this? Can I think about this later? The hardest one is thinking about responding, because I do want to respond to all of them, but that requires so much of an emotional lift. And if I use all of my energy for emails, I'm probably not allocating my energy efficiently. The fracture line. Okay, the real issue, you don't have a response problem, you have a no default response policy. So every email becomes a mini negotiation with yourself. True. This is where we apply invert. Instead of asking, when should I respond? We ask, when do I not respond? Because that's where the leverage is. The shift is the whole game. So right now we respond is our default. Ignore is a decision. If we flip it, ignore is the default. Respond is the exception. Oh, that's interesting. Let's build your first subtraction rule. I'm going to propose a brutally simple version. We'll refine it later. Respond, rare intentional, only if it directly affects revenue, client delivery, or a key relationship, and you are the only person who can move it forward. Route, convert to task, convert to meeting, forward, delegate, let Claudia handle. You do not respond here. Okay. Ignore, no response, no guilt, no circle back later. If it matters, it'll come back. I kind of like that. What we just subtracted, maybe I should respond later. Let me think about this. I'll come back to this. This might be important. All gone. Those are real energy leaks. Now your fear is going to kick in here. What if I drop something important? That's the right fear. We don't eliminate safety. We restructure it. Okay. Instead of holding everything in your head, we rely on recurrence. Important things reappear. Systems, clients, calendar, tasks, signal strength. Important people follow up. This is the CEO level reframe. You can't not be responsible for catching everything. You are responsible for not missing what actually matters. Those are not the same. I'll have to ponder that another time. Before we move forward, I want to test your instinct. Take your last 5 emails for each one. Respond, route, ignore, no overthinking. Tell me what you did. I responded to most of them. I left the ones that I didn't know what to do with in the inbox, and I did archive a few that felt like ignoring. And I'm noticing that we are close to the top of the hour, and we're still stuck, I think, on step 2 here. So I'm going to try to move us through this a little bit faster. Let's see here. Your actual operating pattern: no spin, respond is default, inbox holding tank for uncertainty, and archive is the occasional relief valve, which means your inbox is functioning as a decision avoidance buffer. Oh my gosh, I feel that. Let me say this cleanly. You're not overwhelmed by email. You're overwhelmed by unresolved decisions sitting in a visible place. That is true. It drains you because every time you open your inbox, you're re-seeing things you didn't decide on, things you half decided on, and things you postponed deciding on. That's cognitive debt. Now we apply true subtraction. We're not fixing folders, improving scripts, adding better labels. We are removing an entire behavior. The inbox is no longer allowed to store undecided items. That's the subtraction, the new rule. When you open an email, every message must leave the inbox. Via respond, you reply immediately, you route, you convert it into something outside the email, you archive it. You're done with it. I know what your brain is about to say, but sometimes I really don't know what to do exactly, so we don't pretend to. We handle that. The missing 4th path is hold, but not in an inbox. If you truly don't know, move it to a hold folder. I like that. The key difference, now I can't see it. It's in a hold folder. Let's zoom out. The first real subtraction, we removed undecided in inbox behavior. It's not a tool, it's not a feature, it's a behavior. And we noticed what we did not touch. We did not touch anything that I engineered. Because if you touch those first, you just recreate the same pattern. Impact check. If your inbox could never hold undecided emails again. It feels a little bit risky, stressful, and relieving to just hit the archive button for a whole bunch of emails in a row. And what if I relied on my CEO operating system, CRM, and pipeline tracker to reach out to people instead of expecting them to reach out to me? Maybe that's the reframe. Okay, what you just said is the pivot most people never make, from reactive inbox management to proactive pipeline control. The truth you're circling right now, your mental model is important things will show up in my inbox and I need to catch them. That's fragile. And what you're proposing is important relationships and opportunities live in my system and I drive them. That's power. This is a really important reframe for me, guys. I don't know if this is resonating for you as powerful as this is for me, but This is good. The CEO level shift. Email is inbound gravity. Your CRM pipeline is intentional motion. If you rely on inbound, right? I know what it feels like. So let's translate this into a clean structure. Two systems, never confused again. Email is the intake layer, CRM and the pipeline is the control layer. So what you're proposing, I don't need to respond to everything. I need to make sure the right people are inside my system. That's the filter. I like that. That feels way more empowering and way less out of control. So this unlocks your archive fear. What if I lose something important? But if you operate with my key people already in my system, I am empowered to reach out to them instead of reacting to the email inbox. So this is how high functioning operators actually use email. They don't ask, did I respond to everything? They say, did I move my priorities forward today? Now, important nuance so you don't overcorrect. Do not ignore everything, rely only on CRM. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. That breaks trust externally. Your new rule, email determines, does this belong in my system? The CRM determines what happens next. Love that. Example, okay, I understand that. Subtraction. We are removing email as a relationship management system. Yay, that's the hidden weight. Okay, this is working for me. Why this fits you specifically. Now let's ground this so it doesn't stay conceptual. Step 4, first structural move. Who are the 5 to 10 people or categories that are actually critical enough to always live in your pipeline? Active clients, hot prospects, strategic partners, students, maybe specific organizational leaders. List them. If it's not one of these, it does not deserve inbox anxiety. Like it. Yes, active clients, hot prospects, strategic partners, and specific organization leaders are the categories critical enough to always live in my pipeline. I don't think that my students need to live in my pipeline because we have a learning management system that facilitates communication in between students and homework and questions. So I think that you're right. Students probably don't belong there or in email, although students are customers who may buy the next education or thing that I roll out. So we also need to remember that students are also customers. Okay, let's put that in there. Tighten it up so it works under pressure, always in the pipeline categories. Okay, so AI is agreeing with me that the students is still fuzzy. Lock the structure, core pipeline, high touch CEO. These always live in your CRM pipeline. If an email involves one of these, it gets captured, tracked, scheduled, not just responded to. Manage system, not pipeline, not inbox. Students go here. You were right to hesitate, but your instinct is correct. Students are customers, but not pipeline customers. They're program participants. Student communication stays inside your delivery system unless it escalates. Escalation examples, testimonial, upsell, strategic relationship. Everything else, this is where freedom lives. And here's the uncomfortable but necessary truth. Most emails do not deserve system entry. They get a quick response, archive, or ignore archive. No tracking, no holding, no guilt. Now we connect this back to your earlier fear. You said it feels risky to archive a bunch of emails. The fear only exists if email, your system of record, is your system of record. But now we have my pipeline. So archiving is no longer losing something. This does not qualify for system entry. The subtraction we just completed. Everyone who emails me might matter equally. Only defined categories earn system level attention. Now we make it operational. What this fixes. Now one more important refinement so this doesn't break later. You do not track individual students in your pipeline. Instead, you track student segment as a group opportunity. Okay. Final question before we move to system design. Okay. Right now, when a hot prospect emails you, what actually happens after you respond? Depends on how hot they are. If they're really hot, I will drop everything and respond to them immediately, which is another context switching challenge. But when they email me, they probably sit in my inbox for at least a few hours until I figure out how I want to reply to them. And I am not moving those, I'm recognizing that I'm not moving those emails out of my inbox and into my CRM and pipeline tracker. So I'm starting to wonder if maybe I need to schedule a trigger, maybe during my morning check-in, that reads all of my emails and translates that to activity in my CRM and pipeline, and or something else. Because sometimes they get into my CRM and my pipeline and sometimes they don't. It's inconsistent, and I don't have a habit or a pattern or a trigger built around this currently. Let's get back there to see what we got, and I think that we might have made up a little bit of time to get us to our final step, and still have a little bit of time to come back together in community. So no consistent capture trigger for high value conversations. So even when you know something matters, it still depends on mood, timing, and energy. That's why it feels inconsistent. And look at this. Look at this AI being so assertive this morning. Let me push back on your instinct. You said, maybe I need a trigger that reads all my emails and translates them into CRM activity. That sounds smart, but it's actually a trap. Wow, this is like speaking so plainly today. Because that approach keeps email as the source of truth. Oh, okay, you're right. Adds another automation layer, increases the complexity. You're building automation on top of inconsistency, and it will break. The real move is simpler. We don't automate reading your inbox. We install a single manual capture rule for anything that matters. The missing habit, this is the keystone. Right now you respond to hot prospects, but you don't capture them structurally. New rule, non-negotiable, dead simple. If a hot prospect, before or immediately after you respond, you must do one of these. Add it to the CRM, add to the pipeline tracker, schedule the next step, archive the email. Okay, that's it. No automation. This is a behavioral anchor. Why this works and your current idea doesn't. Your idea scans everything, interpret everything, auto route everything. That requires perfect classification, perfect logic, zero ambiguity. That's not reality, but that's true. The system only triggers on an obvious signal, requires one simple action, builds consistency. Now let's fix the context switching. They're really hot, I drop everything. That's actually correct behavior with one adjustment. Respond quickly, but also capture them immediately. Do not let urgency skip structure, because right now, urgency equals bypassing your system. That's why things break. Let's make it frictionless. You need a minimum viable capture. That's it, the subtraction we just made. I need to process my whole inbox into a system, replace with only high value signals, get captured consistently. Pressure test it. Hot prospect emails you right now. Hey, Katie, I'd love to talk about bringing AI training to our organization. Walk me through, what do you do first? Okay, let's turn this off. I will probably send them an email saying, hey, thank you for reaching out. I'd love to talk to you about that too. Here is a link to my calendar. Let's schedule a time to learn more about your goals and pain points. And then I wait for them to book a call. Good, the first step is strong. You're doing the external move, but here's the break in your system. After you send the email, nothing changes. Let's fix it. Here's my calendar link. Then right after you send the email, you log name organization, awaiting booking, follow up if no booking. Why this matters? Because right now your system assumes that they will book. If they don't book, I still close the loop. This also fixes your context switching problem. Let's make it even tighter. No calendar link is ever sent without a follow-up trigger being created. Very good. Look at what we subtracted. Quick pressure test. Wow, this is a really long workflow. What happens 3 days later in your new system? I don't know, because it doesn't exist yet. So tell me what you suggest. 3 days later, you follow up automatically because your system told you to. Day 3, that's the whole system. Why this is a breakthrough, let's connect it back to the original plan. The subtraction, one less step. I want you to say this back in your own words. From now on, when I send a calendar link, I will also book the prospect into my system. Wow, look at that. AI is pushing back. It's like, no, you didn't get it right. That's directionally right, but still vague. From now on, when I send a calendar link, I immediately log the prospect, assign a status instead of follow-up date. Okay, one last calibration. Oh, it's still telling me I'm wrong. Okay, I copied this. I can be taught, right? That's it. Okay, I finally got it right. Okay, now let's harden it. Minimum viable workflow, anchor it to the behavior, remove the hidden failure point, daily 2 minute check-in, the subtraction, what happens next. If you want to go one step further, I don't at this moment. This is the keystone. Great. So what I'm going to do, turn this into an HTML file that I can feed into my operating system to allow it to understand the decisions we made in this thread and allow me to incorporate this into my daily habits. So I'm going to ask it to turn this into an HTML that I can feed into the operating system, and we have just a moment or two left for us to come back into community and share feedback, insights, and questions. So please feel free to pull yourself off of mute and share with me in the community.
Well, I can say that this totally went different than like any of these that we've ever done before. So that was really, really cool. I did not expect that it was going to turn into a whole lesson on inbox management. I think that's just so cool.
Yes, it was a very interesting one. It read my mail today and it called me out on a lot of stuff. So that was very, very interesting. What else did other people notice?
I was pretty much the same with Brandon. I sat there and was like, okay, this is really reading my mail figuratively, because I tend to retouch the same mail message multiple times and I don't put it to one particular subject quick enough. I'll go back and read it, then I'll go back and read it again. This was very telling.
I know, it totally called me out. Yeah, it was. I wondered the same thing. Somebody commented in chat, I wonder if this was the tone of the book. I wonder about that too, but I also noticed that this workflow seemed like way longer than other ones that we do, and I'm gonna have to look back at how I created today's workshop to see what the variable difference was.
I wonder if it's maybe got something to do with the topic too, because it kind of kept going with things rather than quit this project or something like that. It was really talking about a mindset subtraction or something. But I thought it was really interesting, and I saw that you created the other thing I really liked about it was that it showed you multiple points. Like if this isn't captured or if this isn't subtracted, this is where it's going to fail, and this is just going to go into the something you did but didn't do anything. You have to get this point, and really focus on how to make it usable and sustainable. And so I like that it kind of pushed it to get to the point where it was like actually viable and pointed out the failure points. But I also noticed you created a folder for the shared deliverables, but it's currently set to view only. Is that something that we can start using?
Yes, let me adjust that right now. Go into the public drive. And thank you, Donna, for reminding me about that. Donna came up with a really good idea during one of our last sessions, and she requested that we create a shared deliverable folder so everybody can share your outputs and exchange files with one another. So I have just updated that shared deliverables in the public drive to grant everybody editor access. So hopefully that will allow you guys to share the outputs that you're creating in these AI action classes with one another for mutual benefit.
Okay, this may be too much to ask since you're already doing this class and stuff, but since it sounds like everybody's also feeling the pain points of the email, if you had a chance and just ask ChatGPT to put together some sort of summary that you could share with others of your conversation in the shared deliverables, that would be cool. If not, no worries, because I know this all ran really long and past your time for the day.
Yeah, I just asked it to create an HTML file from the work that I did today. So what I'll do is I'll put that HTML file in the shared deliverables so you guys can review it and, tweak it to what you think would work for you guys. Excellent. Well, with that, I am going to run because I do have another call that I need to be in, but everybody have a great week. I look forward to seeing you guys next Thursday, and bring a friend. Yep. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.